Hello, good morning. Gary Champion, psychic medium. Let's see, it's September, so the 18th we have free readings. Today is 15th, so it's 3 days from now. 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, USA. I was sitting here doing nothing. Someone said predictions, what's to come. So I guess my guys are wanting to give you some of that. So we're going to do that. Russians will sue for peace. And Ukrainians will reclaim what they lost. Stalemate. No cause for concern. They're going to try it again. But before they ruin their own country, and Putin is on the outs with his own people. They're really fed up with him. It's a lot of men missing. Like hundreds of thousands of men are dead. They don't know where the bodies are. They've cremated them or buried them where they were. So his own country's really put out. That's the word. And I believe there have been several attempts to kill him. Assassinate, that's the word. If you're a head of state, it's assassinate. It's not murder, it's assassinate. So Chris Rock did a bit on that once. You might find it somewhere about why someone's assassinated and someone just got murdered, got killed. That was his take on it. Anyway, climate change will go to the forefront again, as it kind of has in the past and disappeared, because things are getting dicey now. Now everybody wants to do something about it. Flooding and all that other stuff. Ooh. That was an orb, I think. It went right in front of my face. I haven't seen those for a while. Maybe I'm supposed to do predictions. Anyway. The Chinese are going to have to give up a lot to get what they want, and they don't get it anyway. They're the new bullies in Russia's no longer even, the myth about them being a superpower has been destroyed. They never really were a superpower. They've got a lot of bombs, but we don't even know if they can deliver them or not. They've never proven anything. So, and I hope they don't. But they realize that nuclear bombs just destroy the land you're trying to take, so they won't use them in Ukraine. Chernobyl, their nuclear plant melted down, and that's destroyed all that land around there. It's unusable for anything. They probably have grasshoppers with 3 heads. Anyway, China's the new bully, surpassing Russia. China really won't want much to do with Russia. I think maybe the opposite is what you're seeing I think people are saying they'll join together, but I don't believe they will, because China doesn't have any interest in being friends with losers, and Russia can't benefit them any at all, except in buying weapons, which they're not doing. They're buying them from North Korea, which I don't know if that's an improvement or not. But purchasing drones from Iran was a bad idea because they're not very well made, and they're made cheaply and quickly, and for export, really. They weren't made for use in their own country. They care little about the quality of those things. They're just toys, really. China will begin to push the boundaries again, as they always do, but I think they're going to have to settle for less. I don't think the world's ready for them being, nobody even understands what they're saying. Nobody speaks Chinese. No one in this country. Although they are speaking English more and more. We're going to ramp up sales to foreign governments. It has something to do with nuclear bombs. Like maybe they're going to sell some of those or something. I'm not sure. Proliferate, that's the word, proliferate. What that means. Megan and what's his name, the Rurals, are kind of disappear. You're just not going to see them very much. They've weren't out there welcome in England, which is a shame because they're a lovely couple. They were even being criticized for holding hands in England, although other royals were doing it. As soon as they did it, they were criticized. So it's not it's an unhealthy place for the Sussexes, whatever. I don't think they can go back. I think they burned the bridges there pretty thoroughly. And as I said, Meghan would not be loved in England like a year or two ago. People say, "Oh no, you're wrong," and we don't know whether it has to do with her color or just that she married a royal and she's not from that country or whatever. What difference does it make? You're not marrying her. And the royal family doesn't have any real power in England anyway. They're nothing. They're holding on to something. You know, the Middle Ages. That's what they're holding on to, where everybody had a castle and a king and blah, blah, blah. This is what's left over from all of that. And they're just like every other people wanting to be a government. They bungle everything. But they really don't have any power, so I don't know what the big deal is about. Who goes to the throne, who doesn't, does it make any difference? Very popular items will be stuff from England. I mean, as far as finding it and selling it, and antiques from England from the period when Elizabeth began her reign. Those have become very popular. And the most popular of all, I hate to say it, is a jar that they used to use the bathroom in, chamber pot. That's what they used to call them. In the South, they had a funnier name. They call it a thunder mug, believe it or not. I'm old enough to know that. I heard my grandmother call it that. Because, for obvious reasons. No explanation needed there. The economy is sluggish, but I don't think we fall off. And everybody's predicting recession, even me. And yet I see that somehow we'll avoid that. Housing will correct itself, but it won't be till next year. So we have this whole year to kind of suffer with it. Sometime next year, February, March, somewhere in there, the market will begin to correct itself because houses are selling for way more than what they're worth because there are no houses for sale. We have a housing crisis. And Texas must be the capital of apartments because there's thousands and thousands of apartments around here, and they're filling up. And the cost is about what you can buy a house for. My wife and I lived in an apartment for a while, and they said, we're raising rent. And I said, we're buying a house. They weren't expecting that. Anyway, housing crisis will continue along for a while, and then it'll dissipate, and things will sort of right themselves. In the meantime, there'll be chaos. A lot of people are going to be kicked out of their apartments and houses because they survived that thing where you didn't have to leave your apartment. More COVID. There'll be 2 or 3 other new COVID strains coming out. And we'll get a shot, just like I said before, which is what's happening. Every year we'll get a shot, just like we get the flu shot. Every time the swine flu changes in China, then they find out what it is and they match it with a shot and you don't get it. Same thing will happen with COVID, except that they've gone down a different road there. They're artificial injections. They're not really, they don't have the virus in them, which I've talked about before. They're just simulated, but their simulation has the body create antibodies. So you're not being injected with a real virus. So for those of you who keep putting off getting a shot, it's not a real virus. It's a pretend virus. manufactured in a laboratory to look like the virus, but not be the virus. So anyway, lots more of those coming up. The housing crisis will soon end. That's what they're saying. I know I'm all over the place, but I'm giving it to you as I'm getting it. And my mind wanders. I don't have much of a mind there anyway. Markets will open up overseas, and companies from this country will expand over there. Exports will increase from this country. And we're building a lot of interesting ships that you won't hear about for a few years, but I find that funny because ships can be sunk with a missile. Any ship can be sunk with a missile. They're no longer, our military is living in the past. What was that? The Kharkov, the Russians sunk with one puny little missile, just went. The pride of the fleet in that area sunk in 5 minutes. What's the point in having them? Well, it's a presence thing. You can send them anywhere. They have a platform for guns that can fire 10 or 12 miles, and they have planes that can. So they're a floating platform that you can take into a situation pretty quickly. But again, these things are, since the advent of cruise missiles and stealth technology, these ships no longer have any protection against anything. I'm just sorry, there's a guy walking 3 dogs. Squirreled, I got squirreled. Food prices will continue to climb, although not as bad as what they're saying. There's a world food thing coming on, exacerbated by Ukraine. The Russians are harvesting their grain and shipping it out, and a lot of this stuff rot in the field. A lot of this stuff won't get shipped out. It's hard to harvest grain when you're being shot at. So, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Food shortages will not amount to much in this country because we have lots and lots of land that's not being plowed, that's not being planted. So the problem we have is distribution, getting something from one place to another, and that'll continue, mostly from foreign markets. Businesses will shut down because they can't get parts. They can't get parts to service what they're selling, so they'll do something else. Car imports will pick up, smaller cars, and something going on in the indigenous area. Indigenous, I don't know if that means American, Native Americans, or the first Americans, we think, we don't really know. First Americans are doing some organizing as far as casinos, more of that. Also wanting their own autonomy, which they have documents to sort of prove. That treaties were made back in the 1800s, and now they're going to drag those things out, and the government will have to cede to them, even though they're certainly not relevant today. That's how the casinos got built in the first place. Indians had deeds to land and recovered land taken from them during that time. Anyways, a lot of okay, this is interesting. Is some kind of artificial blood going to be offered? I can't believe that. Maybe it's already being offered. Maybe I'm just hearing about it. Some kind of artificial blood that isn't blood that will suffice. If you need a blood transfusion, a lot of people don't get them because they're afraid of what they might get. And those bloods are tested pretty good against AIDS and all the common stuff. And this will be a blood you can't contaminate. You get contaminated blood, you chuck it out and put in some new blood. It's manufactured in a factory. I don't even think it's red. I think it's a funny color. sort of pink or something. But it's an artificial blood which will hold oxygen and move throughout our systems just like they have before, only it'll be artificial. Someone's saying it's like oil. You can change oil in your car, you can get this artificial oil, and then you can get the real stuff. And the artificial stuff is better. It's slicker, it's more lubricating qualities in it. Anyway, no shortage of oil exists. It's baloney. We're buying from overseas. We're not. It's right underground here in Texas. All you have to do is hook one of those little grasshoppers to it up, and it'll pump it right out. But you don't see any of those in Texas anymore. You can drive anywhere you want. Those things they're non-existent because we're importing, and all those wells are just capped. They're sitting there. All we have to do is hook a grasshopper to them and pump it out. Oil prices would plummet, especially if a governmental agency were to take that over. And so talk about a new governmental agency of oil and air and gas and things like that. There may already be. See, these are things I'm just hearing. But to control the supply in a way that benefits us. Actually, we sell oil. Someone's saying, I think that's a good idea. But we're actually selling oil to our allies at less than what we pay for it. And always have for a long time. That's just nuts. Heads of state will change without anything really happening. I guess they're talking about this thing in England where King Charles, what a nut. He was dating this woman instead of Diana, who's like the most beautiful woman in the world. And this frog he was dating, I'm not going to say her name. Anyway, I don't think much of Charles. I don't think much of Charles, nor should England. Anyway, heads of state will change. I think it's more than that. I think it's China and a few other, and Putin and Russia. And I think heads of state will change, but nothing really changes. It's a slow change. Russia had a chance with Gorbachev to really be something. And then they put this guy in power, and it's, horrible. Russian people can only take so much. Anyway, in this country, you will see policies change. Long-standing policies will change, yet nothing changes. It's a smokescreen. We're going to label this as this and change it, and wait, it's the same thing. What's behind the scenes doesn't change. The name will change, the people running it will change, but the power behind it will remain the same. Very little change there. We're a country that loves change. Come on, fix this stuff, guys. Fix it or get out of the way. Fix it, what you're there for, instead of all this politics shit. Fix the problems or get out of the way. Infrastructure, water. Water will continue to be a problem. They are going to do a pact or a deal between the Mississippi and out west, and they'll begin to work on that pretty soon because they have to. California's a destination place, always will be. But the Colorado River's dry, and we're in a drought. I think where moisture exists, there'll be a machine made that will suck moisture out of the air and turn it into liquid. What? We were walking along the other night, and there were clouds everywhere, and it even smelled like rain. It was dark clouds and everything, but it didn't rain. So we have a drought here. And then it finally did rain, and that was it. Now we're back to the old, oh, it's not hot anymore. But I believe an attempt will be made. When I was a kid, they tried to seed clouds with iodine or something like that. And it made these, and I remember going out and picking up the snow that it created. It was in the wintertime. Airplanes were seeding the clouds. That goes back to the beginning, a long time ago. Horse and buggy days, they tried to do that, and it didn't work. And you get this fuzzy snow that really wasn't cold. Anyway, because there wasn't any moisture there. This is going to places where there's a lot of rain, and if it doesn't rain, they can just simply take it out of the air. Evaporation is what's killing us. The water is being removed quicker than it can be put back. And I'm supposed to end this up, not because there's not more to say, but because they want me to do something else. Want me to announce it on this YouTube channel. Anybody interested in being interviewed that's anything to do with metaphysical or even not metaphysical, anything in the mental health area. It doesn't have to be what I do, it can be anything. Card readers. If you go to a fair, that's mostly what you see, card readers. There's a million of them out there. A bunch of them are really good. I don't want to get into anything in the occult. I don't want to get into that. But anything else, pretty much. So send me an email. Somewhere on this site, there's an email address. And my website, if you can't find the email address, go to the website, and there's a form there, a couple of them you can fill out. If you want me to call you and do a Skype interview about what you do, not about what I do, but about what you do. Maybe you're selling a product that's interesting. Something in the metaphysical area, if you have a store, or maybe I could do a little promotion there for you, maybe not. But send me a message somehow, and I'll give you a call. We'll set up a time and do a recorded Skype interview, which will go on this site and be played. So other readers, aromatherapy, hypnotism, with the little needles in the arm. My brother had that done, Chinese medicine. He didn't say much about it, but he did have it done. He was trying to quit smoking, I think. That's what one of the efforts was, that. I'm not going to tell you what the outcome was. Disappoint all you people. So let me know if you want to talk about what you do on this channel and have it put up on the internet. Maybe you've always wanted to. You have something to say, or you have an idea, or something you'd like to investigate. We can talk about it. Sort of like a podcast. I don't want to do podcasts, so I'll just soon do this. Okay, so we have free readings on the 18th on this site, on the Go Live app over there, and in the chat room. I'll just give little readings. And other than that, I guess you've heard enough junk for today. No fear, no regret, no anger. Thanks for watching.